There were just mostly rural towns in Italy, the Renaissance period, where it started in the 1500s and earlier. Actually, maybe 10% of the people were directly affected by a small number of people. Of course, a lot of the brilliant people, the Michelangelos and Leonardo da Vinci's and great artists and builders. What it echoed into history, into today, it just had such an impact down through the ages. The small number of people changed the whole trajectory of the world. That's what we're sensing is happening now, that the kind of things we're talking about, although they're much more available, there's still a small number of people who are even to the possibilities that they could even exist, much less believe they can. But that small number is very focused like a laser. The more it gets stronger, the more it's going to open, because if there's these cycles, the age of Aquarius, going from me to we, that energy is more available.
Welcome everyone to Soul Communication. And today I'm excited to continue talking about consciousness and different levels of evolution, how we can explore consciousness using oracle decks, how we can explore consciousness by connecting to angels, and many other ways and different rabbit holes that I like to explore. Phillip Mountrose, he is an author of a book, Awakening to Your Magnificence. He's a personal transformation pioneer, spiritual guide, soul guide, and works with Akashic Records. Welcome, Philip, to Soul Communication.
Great to be here with you, Deanna. Thanks for inviting me.
From where you sit in, and you've been on this journey for over 30 years. You are the first waver. You've been really watching this evolution. What excites you today?
My wife and partner, Jane Montrose, and our nonprofit organization, Awakenings Institute, was really born with a dream about having the world be a more peaceful, loving, collaborative place where everyone's gifts are honored, including nature's. And that got us going many decades ago. And we realized part of spiritual awakening was coming from the heart and healing. And we went on a deep healing journey, and we discovered a lot about energy healing. We wrote some books on holistic EFT tapping, and we developed a spiritual healing system called spiritual kinesiology. And we kept on training people with our programs and individual sessions. But if you keep going, you're going to go deeper, and you're going to hit certain plateaus and places where if you want to grow, you have to keep going and in some ways throw out everything and start anew. And that happened a few years ago. We were doing quite well, relatively well in our business and everything. But things started to change in society and us, and we realized that we couldn't really stay where we wanted to go if we wanted to grow. And my wife and partner, Jane, she had an angel Reiki session with someone. And at the end of it, she did this meditation, and Metatron, the Archangel Metatron, came in. And just as a side note, we've been connecting with angels and even doing a little channeling for many years in the background, because like probably a lot of people watching this, you've done a lot of things. And so Jane said, I need to get back to that. So the next day she connected with Metatron, Archangel Metatron, and he told her that you need to use your full range of resources. So that took us really on another journey of going deeper, connecting with angels and finding these other resources, like going deep into tarot and oracles, the Akashic Records, and combining all of these too with channeling. We had done that, as I mentioned, the spiritual healing, and developed that for years. So we realized there's this whole set of resources and tools and knowledge that worked really well for us and the people we were helping. We wanted to get it out there more. And that is the birth of our new book, Awakening to Your Magnificence, Your Journey into the Next New Frontier for Humanity.
So what is Awakening to Your Magnificence?
Okay.
How would you define it?
Fair question, since that's what is this book about? The reason why I think it's very enriching for people and can really change people's lives is because we're from the Creator. That means the Creator creates by definition, and we are creative. Yet you need to tap into that potential by different resources and awaken yourself to your possibilities, awaken your heart. And this connects even with a lot of science. They found the brain itself, when it focuses on certain matters, more big picture matters, it connects with everyone and everything. It feels bonded. It feels guided. This is actually innately in all our brains if we focus that way. So you connect with your heart, which is sometimes called the threefold flame of love and wisdom and connection there. And you open that up and it takes you on a journey to your magnificence. So in short, we're all masters in the making. That's our magnificence. On another higher level, we're there, but we can't go from kindergarten to graduate school. We need stages and we need tools and resources and guidance. And that's what the journey in the book and Awakening to Your Magnificence means.
I totally agree with you. I was just sharing with you, my book is coming out in a couple of months. I think we're all trying to convey a similar message. Mine is Mastering Quantum Creation, but it's the same concept of we are creators and we're not separate from the source. We also, I believe, angelic beings that forgot our angelic past. So maybe we can dive into the Archangel Metatron, and perhaps there's like a
What?
message
Sure.
that
It's something I do with people, are psychics, are mediums, are channels in different ways. The way it works for me is I just connect with, I choose a being and then I'm drawn to and let that being come through me and get a message from that being. And then afterwards, at some point, we can do a little mini exercise with the audience too about them opening up their hearts. But let's get a message. Let's see what's up. And
yeah,
as
let's
you
see
speak and
what they have to say. I've been connecting. Archangel Metatron specifically was coming through very strongly for me. So I'm curious what message he has for us right now and the audience.
tuning
So that will
into
be
soul communication with Metatron. So let's focus with Metatron.
yeah.
Yes, dear ones, thank you so much for being here. Not only being here now, but being here for yourself, for others, and for the planet. Because when you're truly being here, you are connected with everything and everyone. And the threads and the connections are all love, the filaments of love. And you can breathe that in and feel that love. And you can just be for a moment, be yourself, be with yourself. And yourself includes everyone, everything, because everything is connected with the threads and filaments of love, like a beautiful flower, a lotus blossoming, and feel your heart opening. And as you feel that heart opening, you can just be. And know from there, you can go anywhere that your heart takes you. Allow the love to guide you. And we love you so much, and we encourage you to love yourselves so much too. And then you will indeed love others naturally. Thank you, Metatron.
Thank you for that message. I think there was an important message there about love and specifically self love. I feel many of those who have seen on a path, they touch that energy of self love, but they don't fully anchor or step into it. What do you think would be helpful for them on their journey to really fully step into it and embody it?
I could do a little exercise on that too. I want to just do a reflection because I'm still reverberating from that channeled message, because some of it is continuing to unfold in my awareness of what was being communicated, because you communicate certain things channeled through you, come through you, you let someone speak through you or be. But what was being communicated is still being pieced out in a way. So when we are love, let me keep translating what he was saying. When we are love in the universe, even though it's a very conflicting place in the 3D reality we live, is made of love, we feel the connection with everything and everyone. It's something that transcends all the conflicts. So the way to get through that is to open your heart and just feel that. And that's a sort of the pathway, the portal to connecting. So that completes that part. I'd like to do a brief exercise. This is we have little exercises in our Awakening to Your Magnificence book, and finding the truth in your heart and soul. I think that is applicable to your question. That we can take, if the listener is in a place to do it, you can close your eyes if you want and take a few deep breaths. Some wonderful breaths, like the breaths that Metatron was helping us connect with, the loving breaths. And feel that love flowing through your body. Just feel ease and relaxation. You can place your hand on your heart if you'd like. And you can think of someone you love, and it could be a higher being or an angel, something that opens your heart, a loving connection there. And as you breathe in more and more of that connection, just feel it fill your whole being and aura with beautiful, loving energy. And as you feel that loving connection even more, you can consider this question to yourself. What do I know now more about the source of truth from my heart? What is it beginning to tell me? What am I beginning to understand? And you can listen and just allow whatever response to come through, even if it is silence. And what does it tell you about you becoming a master in the making as the veil is thinning here? Your possibilities. What, with your heart open now, what does it tell you about the next step on your spiritual journey? I'll count from 1 to 5 just to ground us, take us back into where we are. 1, 2, ready to open your eyes. 3, using this experience any way you want. 4, removing anything you don't want. And 5, opening your eyes, refreshed, feeling your feet on the floor, grounded. If you want to take a drink of water, you can. Anything particularly come through for you on that, and just any messages you received there?
I keep on getting this paradox of reality message. The question is, what's the point? There's no point. And at the same time, we're making the point. And so mastering creation is an interesting one because it's almost like it's okay not to create. And this, what's the point? And at the same time, the beauty of it, the free will of it, is that we can create. So the conscious choice and awareness of being creators is a
Right.
powerful one.
And that's one of the messages of our book too, The Awakening to Your Magnificence. There's a copy of it up over there. And you are a creator. When we're creating, we're creating more, creating new things. We're feeling more alive, aren't we? We're feeling more on purpose. We're feeling like life is worth living. Those are all really good things. And that's part of the creator, the living universe. We have free will, so we can go into stagnation and do nothing and descend. And sometimes we hit those bumps and impasses. That's part of life. And that's part of your soul's plan too, where you want to express your gifts and talents. That's what we came here for, isn't it? One of the things we came here for, and to clear those obstacles, those leftovers, unfinished business.
Yeah. I think we're here to experience, and the perspectives we can gain here in this dimension of time, because it's very different, obviously, in other dimensions, is exponential and it's really separated in some ways. I was at this party and it was like a disco ball from the 80s. You probably remember those times. Yeah.
How about it?
Yeah. So it was really interesting. It was like the vibes of the 80s, and there's a lot of refraction going on in the room just because there's a lot of disco balls everywhere. And it was like a moment where I realized, wow, the amount of refraction, of fragmentation, right? From just that disco ball, that's holographic reality, nature of reality. We constantly refract in, and we can expand so much within just this template of universe. But then it's also doing the same and replicating itself in other universes. The play of consciousness, how far can it go and keep on refracting, and then eventually comes to unification of it. It made me giggle, like cosmic giggles, I call them, of the nature of our reality. At the same time, being grateful for the moment of being able to be in this body and dance and listen to music and have this moment of experience, and yet understanding like this is a moment versus all these parallel selves that probably have in many other moments and refracting in the ways they can. Um, and that's, I think, the beauty of perception, the power of perception. You had something in your book about that because your book beautifully explores the power of perception at set points. How do you maybe talk a little more about what are the set
The set
points?
points, which it's a very useful term. It came around in the 1980s when people, like for weight, why people keep going back to the same weight, and you can muscle test people and they may muscle test strong. Your unconscious is muscle testing to being overweight. No, quote, part of them wants to lose weight. The other part does not. So they stay overweight in that. And there's different kinds of set points. And a lot of it can be emotional set points where you hang out emotionally, the range of emotions that you tend to go to. And some people may have challenged, say, with their anger. They may have a very low threshold. They easily become angry a lot or sad and happiness, even a happiness set point. So these are places that we hang out. And the idea is with consciousness, and I like your term a moment ago there, Deanna, play of consciousness. It's a play.
The game of consciousness. I have a little
Yeah.
subchapter in my book because I have a kid who's 12 years old and he loves his games. So I've been learning a lot from his perceptions.
We using the magic child as another tool in the set of tools, our mystery rope. The idea is to raise your set point. So you're normally hanging out at a better place. Now, some of this is genetics. Some people are a little more gloomy or see that the glass half empty instead of half full. I've had to deal with some of that. Some of it's genetics, but that's actually the smaller amount. And the larger amount is how we use our experience, it's sometimes called epigenetics. And there's a lot of new science that backs up the things in awakening to your magnificence, these and ancient traditions. And the set point can go higher by doing deliberate interventions. And it could be using, like we're going to do, oracles and connecting with angels, going to the Akashic Records, doing emotional healing and energetic EFT tapping, doing shadow work. Those kind of things will raise your set point so you're not thrown off and boomerang back to a lower level.
I totally understand what you're talking about. One of my friends who's a shaman, and his reference, a shamanic reference, was you can be on the mountain or you can be in the swamps. So the set point was you always want to be on your mountain. And when he was actually marrying my husband and I, he was like, you stay on your mountain, you stay on your mountain. You can visit each other, but you don't go into each other's swamps. So that's
very interesting. One of our core teachings in our spiritual understanding and awakening and practice is what we call soul centering. And our previous book was called The Loving Power of Your Soul, and it's based on connecting with the heart and opening the soul. But one way to do it, which we write about, is really wonderful. We can do it here for a moment, which is very powerful, is to see yourself going to a mountaintop, like a mystical mountaintop. And that is a way to connect with your soul and your higher perspective. And actually from there, you can go into the Akashic Records, which we do even too, or into the field of pure potential. There are other ways we explore these different things.
I like that a lot. So there's the mountain, and then I also sometimes use the analogy of the birds, right? The eagle perspective. So flying even over the mountains. What you were saying, how can we create these metaphors for the mind to go higher into the higher set points? I like that. I didn't know it was called set points in
Yeah, it really
1980s.
makes you, because one of the really practical things, and we're very pragmatic, although part of our mission is to bring the heaven down to earth, or the spiritual realms into the practical ways. That's what we see. If you know your set point is here, if you tend to be depressed, if you tend to be angry or whatever, you tend to have certain unhappiness patterns. Generally, it's predictable what's going to set it off. That's the interesting thing. It's not, sometimes there's something new that comes out of the blue, but often it's the same. Someone says something doesn't happen the way you want it, and it just like it didn't happen last time, and then you're down in the dumps or you're infuriated, whatever. And the neat thing is, once you know that, you can start to plan for it. I'll give you an example. We have an internet business and our website, gettingthrough.org. We have done that for years and so forth. And sometimes things happen to businesses general and the internet. And sometimes there's problems with the website, right? And when I used to happen, I used to react and even sometimes panic. I would get very beside myself when something wasn't going right, something wasn't working on the website, it needed an update, or I had to get help or whatever. But this became very predictable. And the other thing that's predictable is if you're in business, things like this are going to happen between now and the rest of the time I have this business, there's going to be other things that happen. And I can run around with your head chicken with the head cut off, I guess. That's it. Or what's going to happen. So once I realized it's going to happen, I had a plan. So the suggestion is to have a plan because you know what's going to happen and you can rehearse it instead of being reactive. Say, okay, this is part of business, breathe, relax, work out, slow down, take your time. It's not pleasant. It's not fun or anything, but I can deal with it. I can get through it. And that really helped me. Now I don't react. I breathe, I slow down. And sometimes things get me more than others, but my set point gets back to a higher place much quicker.
Yeah, completely agree. The awareness and catching ourselves as we rolling down the mountain into swamps.
Yeah.
Like, wait, I'm holding to the branch, and then doing the practices, the breath, the work, whatever works, right? If we have certain
Yeah. Different
um,
interventions that work for you.
interventions, yeah, I call it like building a spiritual muscle. It's like we go to the gym and we lift weights. The more we catch ourselves, the stronger that muscle gets. And so as we tumbling down, because things happen to us all the time, we're human, right? At the end of the day, but we can catch ourselves and reset the set point. So now I'm going to be using set point as my new terminology. I like it a lot. Thank you, Philip, for that. So we're on soul communication, and it's about connecting to these different realms and different beings. How can someone on a daily basis create a relationship with these beings? Why is it important at all? Like, why do we want to be talking to angels?
Well,
Because there's a controversy about whether angels are trustworthy.
let's just address that quickly. Part of the idea is to do more soul meditations. And as I said, we have the one in the Awakening to Your Magnificence books, and people may have other ones. So you know what it means to be connected with your soul, and you're coming from that place. You are going to connect with a pure connection and then see what you're drawn toward. So if you're drawn to Archangel Metatron, you can read about him. You can journal. A lot of people like to do automatic journaling. You can just listen for messages. You may not do the channeling like I do, but that's okay. That's certainly not required. And it's part of what becomes what we call your different families, the three families we talk about, we write about, and that you have your physical family, which may or may not be part of your spiritual family. And it's probably connected with past lives and reasons you are with that family. And it may be to clear things in some cases. And then there is people who you're maybe not blood related to, but you feel connected to closely, who are alive, incarnate. And then and they may be spiritual teachers. People may look at us in the podcast as connected with them. And I listen to podcasters that I relate to, and I feel a lot of affinity, or people I know. And then there's the invisible realms, the spiritual family, your guides, certainly your soul, the higher levels of your being, the archangels, the ascended masters, higher spiritual guides. So as you go more within, and if you're doing it from a soul-centered place, certainly connecting with your soul first and foremost, I'd say, you're going to have a much richer life. And that's a way of evolving, and the veil's getting thinner. And that was the whole impetus for this book, The Awakening to Your Magnificence, is that the veil is thinning. So these tools, connecting with angels, guides, your soul, your spiritual family, and these other resources are much more available now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And it's been interesting how each time I think I have access a certain level of clairvoyance or clairations, there's always more. There's always the limitation of the human mind, right? And the wider is that imagination, and the more available you are, the larger is the access point. And so if you asked me even, I don't know, 10 years ago that I would be channeling all these various frequencies and different languages, not of the earth, I would laugh at you because
What we're doing now would seem impossible, and where will it be in
well,
another few years where we are now?
I'm excited about it because I've been also observing, as probably you have, what took us a certain amount of time
Right.
to even tap into. I'm seeing people open up in my classes and my workshops that I run all the time, like here in New Jersey, Kundalini activation, sound healing workshop, but because I'm channeling the light language all the time, the person gets activated and she starts to, and then she wants to take a class. These gifts are coming online so beautifully right
Right.
now.
And
I'm
it's
telling
sometimes called the morphic field in science. The field, the more people who get out there doing these things, the easier it is for the next person to access it. Or even in your brain, the neural pathways, the more you explore these different things, the easier the connections are, the stronger you can, and easier it is to connect.
I think in your book, you were talking about mystery schools and coming back, reemergence of the mystery
Right.
schools. Many of us who having these podcasts, the ones who talking a lot about this, we all coming from mystery schools. We remember our past lives. A lot of us remember Atlantis. We remember Egypt.
Right.
And so mystery school wisdom is coming back, but we are morphing it into something new too.
The mystery schools, which have been around, some people say from Atlantis and Egypt and Greece, and some of them are pretty famous people that people have heard of, maybe Plato and Pythagoras and in ancient Egypt and Melchizedek and so forth, had these schools. They initiated people into the truths and spiritual realms. They were often rather hidden, and selected people were allowed in. And they would study realms like reincarnation and astral projection and immortality of the soul and life after death and union with the divine, all these themes. And what we realized, Jane and myself at Awakenings Institute, we've been teaching a spiritual coaching and healing program for quite a few years. And more recently as how to become your spiritual guide with Akashic Records and oracles and channeling and such. And we realized, actually, I think we actually have a mystery school, because as we started sending mystery schools and what we were doing, it was actually the same thing. And a lot of things we've done, we just realized that we're in these morphic fields without quite realizing it until a certain point. And the idea is to help people find the truth within, not like a religion or a dogma where the truth is without. Not that you don't maybe follow a leader in terms of someone teaching you, but he doesn't become a substitute for your own spiritual wisdom, because you're, as we said, a master in the making. And so they're customized, the teachings and practices, some of the things we're even talking about today, for contemporary times, things like oracles and channeling that might have been pretty, of course, there were oracles and in the famous oracle of Delphi of ancient Greece, they'd go to, and Socrates would go to get the truth and so forth. And that was, and I guess the Dalai Lama still has an oracle, a person who goes into a trance who gives him guidance. But when we speak of oracles, of course, we're talking about oracle decks that we don't quite say divination, but can guide you and help develop your intuition and give you a lot of answers and guidance that is very profound.
I think it's just like validation confirmation, even though we have all of it. It's a helpful tool. We constantly need tools again because we operate multidimensionally, and yet we're here as a human being. Sometimes doubt ourselves and our gifts and our intuition. And I feel the tools, the oracle decks, they just a good guideposts to what we already know.
And how to streamline it and know what to prioritize and practice, focus.
Correct. Yeah. So you also mentioned about past lives, and then your students using Akashic Records to
Right.
access their past lives. I usually use the modality of QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis by Dolores Cannon. You're probably familiar with. And so I also take people into their past life journeys. Sometimes it's beyond Earth and galactic, and just incredible what information the soul can store. What has been your experience about healing timelines and any soul contracts?
I'd like to link this, Deanna, with the Akashic Records. There's past life regressions, which when we study
Mhm.
hypnotherapy and taught that and been teaching it for many years, and when we understood what the Akashic Records are, which is the universal database, that's where you really go in a past life experience. And that is actually just one small thing that the Akashic Records field holds. The Akashic Records is your past, present, and future potential, but it has a lot more in terms of purpose and guidance and health and healing and transformation and relationships. And we have a little Akashic Records wheel. So the reason I like to mention the Akashic Records, when people say they're going to a past life and see it in a bigger framework. It's like getting a wider scope. So just to give you an example, in one of our classes, there was a woman who she kept on having difficult relationships, like with men who would be rather abusive to her, I think more verbally than physically, but she'd end up with the wrong guy and be somewhat codependent. In our class, we helped her go to the Akashic Records to find out what was going on. And she went back to a past life where she was married to a very wealthy man. And the wealthy man was abusive to her too, and locked her actually in a dungeon while he was having affairs and so forth. And eventually she committed suicide in that lifetime. And as she came back, she realized that her current boyfriend was the same guy who locked her in the prison then. And she left that relationship and felt free to be more herself and not have to be pleasing and be in a relationship, even though it wasn't really healthy for her, which a lot of people have challenges in that area. So that was an example of having the past liberate you when you're ready for it, and it can have someone help escort you.
So the difference between Akashic Records and past lives is like someone actually does a regression for you versus you just tap into that field yourself and you pull that information from the field.
Yes and no. And the Akashic Records and Oracles is for helping people to go there themselves and being a guide for them. And then the same thing with, say, a past life in hypnotherapy. If you know you're in this big Akashic field, you might also get guides. Metatron is sometimes a scribe, the celestial scribe for the Akashic fields, the Hall of Records. So when you have that, you have additional information and assistance. So it's a richer experience with a bigger context, a fuller experience. So we help a person get in the state, slower brainwave state, a trance state, to access and see those images and connect with them, and maybe ask questions and be there as a support for them to help them navigate. And then afterwards integrate, maybe have some spiritual coaching assistance going forward and what to do next.
So it sounds like pretty much the same thing, isn't
No,
it?
you're going to the same place. I'm just saying
Right.
the context is bigger and more enriched. That's what I like about the Akashic Records. And there's other
Yeah.
things you can do with it too.
Yeah.
So yes, there is definitely a past life is a past life. However you get,
Yeah.
whether you say I'm in the Akashic field or I'm just in this past life, but
Yeah.
it just has, I think, some additional meaning and enrichment when you realize you're in the Akashic field and you can do more with it.
That's an interesting distinction. Something about the brainwave, you're right. I think it works because you drop into theta, you drop deeper into that more subconscious level, the brainwaves, that middle, they say between the delta and the theta, the deeper they are, the more information.
Brainwaves.
I actually been experimenting with hemisyncs. You familiar with hemisync? Do you know what that is?
With the binaural sounds?
It's binaural, yeah. It's by Robert Monroe Institute.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard of Robert Monroe. It's like the same idea, the binaural beats and guided meditation drops you into
brainwaves.
Slows your brainwaves, and then you go on your journey, but with sometimes guidance, sometimes not. It's a training that was actually used for remote viewing from soldiers during the Cold War. The concept is the same.
Right.
Whether we call it Akashic Records, it's that same field of information.
Universal database, it's sometimes called.
Correct. Including going and seeing targets in another country that you will know
Doing that.
not be able to see otherwise. Yeah. It's fascinating.
It is.
So here we are, we're at the age of Aquarius. We're experiencing this collective and personal ascension. I actually just had a conversation with someone about disclosure. It was at New Life Expo, one of keynote speakers, and we were saying how it takes really 7% of the humanity. It's not even that big of a percentage,
right,
for us to make a dent in ascension or disclosure. This was a conversation on disclosure and open contact. What are your thoughts about that?
One of the things in researching the new book here, The Awakening to Your Magnificence, is about the Renaissance period. There were just mostly rural towns in Italy where it started in the 1500s and earlier. And so actually maybe 10% of the people were directly affected by a small number of people. Of course, a lot of the brilliant people, the Michelangelos and Leonardo da Vinci's and great artists and builders and so forth. What it echoed into history, into today, it just had such an impact down through the ages, the small number of people changed the whole trajectory of the world by just a small number. And I think that's what we're sensing is happening now, that the kind of things we're talking about, although they're much more available, there's still a small number of people who are even open to the possibilities that they could even exist, much less believe they can. But that small number is very focused like a laser. The more it gets stronger, the more it's going to open, because if there's these cycles, like you said, the age of Aquarius going from me to we, that energy is more available.
It's definitely interesting times we're living in. So let's maybe open some oracle cards and see what else we can focus
We
on.
like to use
Yeah,
tarot
that'd be
and
interesting.
oracle. Some people don't realize you can use them both, and they may know. And there are 22 major arcana of the oracle deck, the stages or cycles that we go through, we keep going through. And even though, quote, you pick them randomly, I'm picking one and you start with a focus or an intent. I'm picking this from Rodley Valentine's Angel Wisdom deck. And the reason is because it has an angel connected with it, because I thought I could do a channeled message, another channeled message with it too, as we're going on this final stretch of our nice little talk here, exchange. And so let's figure out what is the message for us, for the readers, for the listeners today, the viewers. And oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So renewal. And that's the little message or tagline with the card is reviewing the past with compassion and forgiveness. Time to head in a new direction, clarity on your life, purpose in your heart. You know what to do. And it's card number 20. It's of the 22. It's one of the last cards. I have a little stand here because I'm going to draw a second card. And the angel connected with that card is Angel Jeremiel, who's good for developing your psychic abilities, and Archangel Jeremiel. Let's see. And the color, deep purple. And I'll just connect with there's a purple robe that the angel. So the deck is portrayed with angels in the deck too. So it has a couple things going for it. So this is an age that we're here in renewal. And which I think is a perfect metaphor, don't you, Deanna, for what we're doing now? We want to renew ourselves.
Yeah.
Going to bask and explore this new energy. But another thing, a little channeling from Ra, another channel, famous channel, the world, reflect, completion, integration, realization of unity and interconnectedness, sometimes called the world. Found that card, the last card in the deck,
This is the last card in the deck
of the major arcana.
The major arcana.
Yeah. And there's cycles. We keep going through these cycles. I'll draw a second card to just get more information on that too. Let's see, should I do it first or do the channeling first? Well, I think I'll just stay with the channeling with Jeremiel. Okay. All right. So let's connect with Jeremiel. So the message for us here collectively is a sense of renewal, a sense of the world opening up and completing and regenerating here. Yeah. Very good. Yes, dear ones, you are in a state of renewal. This is a period where the old is dying and the new is giving birth. And if you breathe into your heart and allow your field of awareness to expand, you will know that much is going on, much more than you are normally aware of. And yet you know that right now because you are aware of it. And when you put forth that you can be more aware, more open, you download, you receive information and clues and energies and colors that you may normally not be aware of, like right now you are. You may feel gold and blues and greens. You may feel bursts of energy. And all of that is different data, which goes beyond your conscious mind. But as you open up to it, it does come into your heart and travels into your mind and is integrated in the right way for you. So look for ways that you can renew yourself. Realize that the old is indeed dying and the new is indeed being given birth now. And as you breathe in this renewal, this new consciousness, It will continue to spread as you nurture it. It will spread in you and spread in others. And it doesn't have to even be in any words. The message is just being in this state of awareness, which has new energies. And from those new energies will be amazing creations, amazing connections. They are coming into you and into the world now. So take heart, be patient. It is a process. Things are crumbling and dying, and it is messy at times, but yet all the new beauty, the new love, the new order is coming forth. And you are a witness and a participant in it. Participate in that renewal, loved ones, and the world will flourish and flower, and you will be a bud that will help yourself flower and the world flourish as well. So much love, much support, and we are here with you, Jeremiel. Thank you. We do love you.
Beautiful. I really felt that was really beautiful energy. I need to hear that message too. So thank you.
I go back and re-listen to that when I hear the interview again. Yes. And that was great. Thank you, Jeremiel. What we do is you can draw, there are different cards you can draw without people having to know what oracles, and you can use tarot and minor arcana, other tarot cards, or a different oracle. Another deck we like is Sacred Destiny by Denise Lynn. So what I'm going to do is draw a card from that to ground what we have. So the purpose of the card, the first one is what we need to focus on, renewal. And the second card, which is from an oracle deck, and oracles have the same idea of giving messages, and they'll meet you wherever you are. So they have an uncanny ability to connect with whatever you need confirming on or showing new patterns.
Yeah, and I'm excited actually. I feel, Philip, when mine is published, I'm going to send you a copy of my oracle deck so you can start using that too. That would be
love
great.
oracles. Yeah. Yeah, they're creative, and it's a different way of being in the world, the new tools and awakening to your magnificence. So let's get a grounding, a card to help accompany the renewal. And the card is, okay.
Change.
Change.
Change is the only constant.
Change. And I'll just read a little message from her guidebook on what she says changes, and then we can talk about it. It's a nice resource. Sometimes we use the guidebooks, and sometimes they don't fit, or just a word or a phrase is something that is meaningful. It doesn't have to all fit. So it's okay to change your mind. It's all right to change directions. You do not need to be consistent. This is the time to put the needs and expectation of others aside and listen to the heart, the beat of your own drum, the heartbeat. You don't need to follow traditions. Just because something has always been that way doesn't mean it needs to be. Select meanings that empower you, for this is the time to be a carefree, wild, and unpredictable. There's going to be a certain amount of unpredictability and chaos. That's what I'm picking up. And it can be pretty fun and pretty amazing, like that sort of fantasy image of the horse. Is it a unicorn? No, a horse or zebra.
A horse on a balloon.
And a balloon. And that's a pretty fantastical image. So
I like that.
We want to expect the unexpected. That's the message I'm getting to help us renew it. The set point, it can't be the old same thing. We can't keep boomeranging back to the way it used to be if we want to birth in the new, right?
The word birth in was really resonating too for me. Like this birth in of new paradigm that we usher in. And birth in is a process. There's gestation period that happens. And being a mom, I can talk about it. It was the most spiritual experience I've ever had. And I feel right now in the birthing as well, process with some of my creations, but I feel also in terms of the energetic earth grid points that I usually work with, like I am being called specifically to places that are known for birthing. So that's what was coming for me when we were talking about, when Jeremiah was channeling that message. It was confirming.
A lot of these are confirming, and sometimes they're new and revelatory. Wow, I never thought of that. That's our hidden pattern. I never made that connection. Other times I had that hunch, and now I know, yeah, it's right.
We just need to be following the process, being patient with ourselves and knowing that it can be chaotic. I like how you said that because in chaos, that's what creation gets created. So we need to be a little chaotic. Otherwise, instagnation doesn't happen. So those are beautiful messages. Thank you so much for this, Philip. I like the experiential episode today. Those who tuning in and receiving this, how can they connect with you? If maybe you can share your website and
Sure.
some programs you guys created.
Yeah, we have a lot of programs and spiritual guide training and spiritual coaching and healing training. And that's getting thru.org. But there's a free, what we call Pure Potential Kit, where we have a free download of our holistic EFT tapping manual and a super reality shift report. It's another very spiritual healing that's extremely effective, and a couple of videos where we healed people of chronic pain and difficult relationships, these very fascinating videos. So they can get all that free, the free manuals and videos. And it's a shortened URL to remember, tinyurl.com/pure-potential, tinyurl.com/pure-potential for the pure.
We'll include it also in the notes.
Yeah, the resource kit. Yeah.
You can also get your book on Amazon, right?
We'll get to Amazon now, The Awakening to Your Magnificence. And it's got a nice cover my wife designed here too, I think. A little partial, but she's very artistic. And
cover is a big thing. I'm working on my cover now.
I
know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like one mark already.
It took a couple of years to get all this to this point where we can publish it, where it's easy to read. And it's very enriching. So people, I think, will have a lot of resources and tools and enrich their lives by reading the book.
Thank you for being on this journey of your light and creating your mystery schools. Like each one of us, I feel, holding the container of mystery schools so needed right now for those who are on the journey. And so I appreciate all the work you and your beautiful partner doing together in the world for so long. Thank you for being here. Please tune into the website, see what Philip has to offer, and get the book as well. Always support the way showers. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode. You can visit my website, dianadivine.com, where I'm now offering a special Quantum Master Creator free ebook that will help you to create the conscious dimensional life that you want. I'm also offering other programs, one-on-one sessions such as Quantum Healing Hypnosis and Quantum Crystalline Soul Healing to help you in your vibrational alignment. On sourcelanguage.org, I'm offering a digitized course that is self-paced to open you to the divine gift of light language. I'm Diana Divine. Keep connecting with your higher self.